the ultimate entrepreneurial pivot from poverty to prosperity. All right, let's dive right into this explainer because we are going to unpack an absolutely incredible story of resilience, business strategy, and just ultimate triumph. We're looking at a family pushed to the absolute brink of starvation in their village. We've got a young man named Harya, his younger brother Lalu, and their mother Gangadevi. Now, Harya is a sole provider, and he's barely scraping by with this tiny roadside tea stall 10 years after his father passed away. The margins are so incredibly thin that on this particular day, he doesn't even have enough money to give his mother to cook lunch. He literally has to go sell tea just to buy their next meal. It's a desperate, hand-to-mouth existence, and it completely sets the stage for a massive transformation. Those who try never fail. So when things are looking incredibly bleak, Gangadevi introduces this profound mindset shift for her sons. She tells them about a barren piece of land their late father left behind. Now the sons, they're totally skeptical. I mean, it's just dry, lifeless dirt to them. But she lays down this thematic anchor. Those who try never fail. She's reminding us and her sons that true failure really only happens when you just stop trying. If you sit on your hands, well, you starve. If you try, you at least have a fighting chance. And this stark contrast brilliantly illustrates the immediate, devastating stakes they were facing. On one side, we have Harya's sheer desperation, completely relying on that meager tea stall income. And on the flip side, we have the local zamindar, a wealthy landlord driven by pure, unadulterated greed. The zamindar storms into Harya's tea stall, literally refuses the offer of a hot cup of tea, and demands immediate repayment of a lingering debt. When Harya begs for just a little more time because of rising costs, the zamindar shows absolutely zero mercy. He actually has his goons rip apart the tea stall, throw Harya's belongings into the street, and physically toss Harya out. In an instant, Harya's only source of income is completely wiped out. The family is plunged into a total crisis. Let's track how this situation actually spirals before it gets better, because it's a massive entrepreneurial risk. First, boom, the income is gone. Second, in a stunning, heartbreaking move, Gangadevi takes off her Mongol Sutra, her sacred wedding necklace, literally the last memory of her late husband, and tells her sons to pawn it for seed money. I mean, talk about the ultimate all-in moment, right? They use that money to plant watermelons, working day and night through scorching heat and pouring rain. And the vines actually flourish. But step 3 is a total disaster. When they take the watermelons to the market, the shopkeepers cut them open only to find they are completely white and totally tasteless inside. The customers are furious. Harya and Lalu are nearly beaten by an angry mob, forced to return all the money, and chased right out of the market. If the land was truly barren, the vines wouldn't have flourished. Some mistake was made. Broken and humiliated, the brothers go back home, totally convinced this land is cursed. But Gangadevi, she has an incredibly analytical mindset. Instead of wallowing in despair, she looks at the raw data. She separates the failure of the end product from the actual viability of the resource. She basically sees the tasteless watermelons as a flawed process, not a final defeat. Honestly, it's a total masterclass in objective analysis during a major crisis. The stakes rise even higher here. With their initial seed money entirely gone, what does Gangadevi do? She tells them to pawn their actual home, their small hut, to the greedy zamindar. The zamindar happily takes this deal, knowing their roadside land is highly valuable. So, with this final bit of cash, they pivot to planting dates. Months pass, the trees bloom, and they harvest these beautiful baskets of dates. But when they arrive at the market, total hostility. The shopkeepers, remembering that whole watermelon fiasco, refuse to even look at the dates. They call the brothers frauds and chase them away before a single date is even tasted. This brings us to a massive turning point in our story, and honestly, a powerful question for all of us to consider. What do you actually do when the market rejects your goods? Think about it. When everything is on the line, you've pawned your mother's jewelry, you've pawned your literal house, and the market physically chases you away without even giving your product a chance? How do you survive that? Harya and Lalu are ready to just throw in the towel completely. They think the world has absolutely no place for them. But against all odds, Gangadevi refuses to accept defeat. When her sons bring those rejected dates home, she stops them from throwing them out. She says, "Don't judge without tasting. We must make our own path." She forces her sons to eat the dates they just spent months growing, and the revelation is instant. They are exceptionally sweet, like the most delicious dates they have ever tasted. The market was completely wrong. But because the market gatekeepers wouldn't buy them, she realizes they can't rely on the traditional supply chain anymore. And here is their brilliant entrepreneurial pivot. Instead of selling raw crops to hostile middlemen, they decide to create a highly desirable, value-added product directly for the consumer. Step 1, they pluck those incredibly sweet dates. Step 2, they rush to the market to buy pure DC jaggery, which is a traditional cane sugar. Step 3, they cook them together overnight over the fire. Ganga Devi uses her culinary magic to create date barfi, this rich, golden, sweet fudge. So why did this specific product work so incredibly well? Well, when they bypassed the market and took baskets of this date barfi directly to the village streets, sure, people were a little skeptical at first, but one single taste changed everything. It wasn't just the exceptional sweet taste or the pure daisy jaggery. They accidentally created a functional health product. Villagers found that eating it actually acted almost like a medicine, relieving body aches and providing this immediate burst of energy. Combined with the high novelty of a date-based sweet in their village, the villagers went absolutely crazy for it. People were literally buying it by the kilo. One Mangal Sutra reclaimed. With money literally pouring in from their direct-to-consumer sales, Hariya achieves their first major emotional milestone. The very first thing he does with those profits is go right back and buy the Mangal Sutra. He takes his mother to the temple and places that reclaimed necklace back around her neck, telling her that it isn't just jewelry. It represents their family's dignity and honor. It's a huge win. But as we all know, success breeds envy. The Zamindar is watching this family go from dirt poor to highly successful, and he is terrified. If they keep making this kind of money, they'll soon be his equals, and more importantly, they're going to pay off that debt, and he will lose the rights to their highly valuable roadside land forever. So the Zamindar hatches a midnight sabotage plot. He orders his goons to sneak into Hariya's fields in the dead of night and steal the entire date harvest, stripping the trees completely bare before sunrise. Luckily for our entrepreneurs, the universe has a funny way of balancing the scales. A shopkeeper from the market named Champak actually overhears the Zamindar's plot and feels this massive pang of guilt. He runs to warn Hariya. Hariya, absolutely refusing to be a victim yet again, devises a brilliant counter-strategy. The Zamindar has this sneaky theft plan set for the cover of darkness, right? But Hariya sets a trap. He coats the trunks and branches of every single date tree with a powerful, wild, itching herb. What follows next is literally pure poetic justice. In the middle of the night, the Zamindar's goons creep into the orchard and start climbing up the trees. Within seconds, their hands start burning. Then their arms, their legs, their whole bodies. The itching becomes so uncontrollable, they feel like an army of ants is attacking them. They abandon the heist entirely, running down the street screaming and scratching wildly like their clothes are on fire. Hariya, Lalu, and Champak watch the whole thing unfold from the bushes, laughing at what they call the ultimate comedy show. The Zamindar manipulated us so no one would buy your fruit, just so he could steal your house. Now, after the laughter dies down, a pretty shocking revelation comes to light. Hariya asks Champak why he helped them, especially considering Champak was one of the very shopkeepers who chased them away earlier. Champak drops an absolute bombshell. He reveals that the initial market rejection of the dates wasn't just bad luck. It was a completely rigged system. The Zamindar had intentionally poisoned the well to bankrupt them and seize their property. 20 kilograms. With the truth finally out in the open and their product's reputation absolutely booming, their business scales up super rapidly. One day, a wealthy city merchant arrives right at their door. Word of this incredible, pain-relieving date barfi has actually reached the big city. He offers a massive advance order of 10 to 20 kilograms right off the bat, explaining he needs it immediately to supply his 5 different city sweet shops. Just like that, this desperate backyard operation has officially become a major, scalable enterprise. This incredible pivot culminates in a total, undeniable victory. Just think about where they started versus where they ended up. They went from crippling debt to holding massive wealth and lucrative city contracts. Their pawned, totally vulnerable hut was fully reclaimed and their property secured forever. Once disrespected and physically abused in the local market, they are now highly respected by the entire village. And maybe the best part? They went from fearing the Zamindar's every move to entirely destroying his tyrannical grip on the village. The Zamindar is actually forced to apologize to Hariya, finally admitting that no one can fight against hard work and destiny. To wrap up this explainer, I really want you to ask yourself, when you inevitably face an unfair market, a rigged system, or a devastating, heartbreaking loss, how are you going to respond? Are you going to let that failure dictate the end of your story? Or, like Ganga Devi and her sons, will you analyze the process, add crazy value to what you already have, and use that failure as the secret ingredient for your own sweet success? Thank you so much for exploring this remarkable journey with us, and remember, those who try never truly fail.